Praise the Lord. It's Dick Blackwell. Good to be with you again this morning. Today I want to start like a first part of a four-part thing about getting, or five-part getting our land and building. I told you we've been Grace Covenant Church, that started in January of 1985, had been meeting at the old Reformed Church building in Mount Crawford. The building held about 250 max, and we had 500 people. We were just crowded. Parking was awful. Only around the church you could park maybe 10 cars. So they were all up and down the street. But people were so excited to come, they would come walking half a mile in the rain to get there. It was exciting times. But we needed something else. And one day I was at the church office. We had an office there. By this time we brought Donna Yoder also on staff. So we had Bert Thiel and Donna. Somewhere around this time, Bert Thiel died. I can't remember. She had a stroke and never came back. But anyway, I was working in office, and Dave Garber came by. Dave Garber had owned a Red Front grocery store. Was part of our church, dedicated guy. And he came and he said, "Come on, Dick, we're going to go look for some land. We got to get out of here." So I said, okay. So we hopped in the car and we started driving towards Harrisonburg on Route 11. And when we got to where that intersection where the church is now with 11 and 81, beside that, what's now a Shell service station, right just to the north of that toward town, there was a sign on an empty lot said for sale. He said, "Look, that's for sale." I said, "Dave, that's just a 1 acre lot on Route 11. That cost a fortune. It's not big enough." He said, "I bet it goes all the way up to the top of that hill." I said, "Why do you think that?" He said, "I don't know. Let's go check." It was listed by one of the constables. So we went to their office down off Court Square and said, "We're looking for some land. What about that land on South 11? And Mr. Constable said, "Well, yes. There are actually 3 parcels. There's a little piece right on Route 11, 1 acre, approximately an acre. And then directly behind that are about 17 acres that is in the city of Harrisonburg." The city had annexed just recently at that time. And then he said up on the hillside in the county is 66 acres. And Dave said, "Well, how much are the 66 acres? And Mr. Constable said, "Well, it's listed for $150,000. Dave said, "Well, take it." Got his checkbook out and wrote a check for $1,000. Said, "Here, just to hold it." And it was like 5 in the afternoon. Mr. Constable said, "Look, I don't have time to write this up right now. Come back tomorrow. We'll write it up. I have a meeting I have to go to." We said, "That's fine." So he took the check. I mean, it was laying on his desk. Dave knew him, and he knew Dave. And at that time in Harrisonburg, you could do a lot with a handshake. So we leave. Dave takes me back to the church to get my car. And so the next day, we meet Mr. Constable at his office about 9 o'clock that morning. And when we go in, first thing he says was "You guys don't have to buy it. I can release you. Here's your check." Dave said, "No, we want to buy it." He said, "Well, no, we'll let you out. We haven't written it up yet, so no problem." Dave said, why you keep saying that? He said, we want to buy it. Mr. Constable said, well, you know, that property's been on the market for over a year and a half. And we've never had anybody inquire about it. And after you left yesterday, I mentioned something to one of my men in the evening. We're talking on the phone, and I told him. And since then, we have gotten 2 offers on that land. People's like, where is it? We've never seen it. And the agent said, the other agents in the firm said, we didn't know we had that for sale. Well, we had the contract. He wrote it up, and we bought it or signed it. All we had to do was come up with money. But we were thinking, that thing has been on the market for a year and a half. 66 acres on the edge of the city for $150,000. Tell me if that's not a good price. And it had been almost like hidden from everybody else until we were ready to get it. I mean, that was the work of the Lord. You have to see that. We were like, wow. And the agents was saying, we knew one of them, and he said, I bet I could sell it to 5 people. Anyway, that was an example. The Lord was providing for us without us even knowing He was doing it. And I think that's it happens in all of our lives a lot more than we know. That He has set up things in advance that we don't even know. But when He set them up, we didn't know at that time we were going to even need them. He's working in our behalf way ahead of us. I don't know why we fret and worry. And Matthew talks about seek first the kingdom, and then He'll add all these other things to us. I don't know why we fret so often and worry when we've got a Father who's looking after us, who's going to provide for us, and even when we don't have everything we want, we have what we need. So we got a contract on land. Then we had to come up with money. So we talked to the congregation, and just interesting. Not everybody agreed that we should buy it. Some thought, because we were going to have to borrow some of the money. We came up with a good down payment. I think like 50,000 people contributed, but we had to borrow 100,000. And we went to the bank, and they said, fine. I mean, the land was worth far more than what we paid for it, so nobody had to sign the note. It was, but I had some people telling me we shouldn't borrow money. God is opposed to that. And there are scriptures that talk about it's better to be the lender rather than the borrower, and which I understand. Borrowing, though, if you have either the means to pay back or the value is far greater than what in a fire sale you could so to speak, you could get what you need. One day I was in the office before we made the between writing the contract and coming up with the money. I had one man come in and say, "Thus saith the Lord, you are not to borrow the money." And he walked out, and another man followed him and said, "Thus saith the Lord, you are to borrow the money." They didn't say it quite like that, I'm kidding. But so after they left, I went out and with I think Bertie was still there. I know Donna was there. I said, God seems confused today. Well, one of them was not right. We borrowed the money and purchased the land, 66 acres for $150,000, right on the edge of the city, in a great location. And we saw the Lord provide for us. It was a wonderful purchase and has worked out quite well. Tomorrow I want to tell you, once we got the land, then I realized, well, the sewer's down in the street. And so we've got, it would drain by gravity, no problem to get there, other than we were in the county and the sewer's in the city, and there had just been an annexation. The city had taken part of that county land, and there was bad blood between the city fathers and the county people. And so I knew I was going to have to go and talk about getting the sewer. Tomorrow I'll tell you how that worked. But just remember today how he had prepared this property for us in advance. For a year and a half, he kept it hidden until we needed it. He's doing similar things in your life right now, and you don't know it, but you'll see it later. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, God willing. Goodbye.